Boxing beats and rhymes. No one can do it better.
Well, before you hang up your gloves and go into the lights of the movie world full time, is there any chance you would compete in that boxing league in Saudi before retiring?
I'm not against it, but I have not been invited to participate in this league. But if such a proposal comes through, my team and I will seriously consider it.
I'm sure if Dana White and His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh are listening, you will get that invite.
Alexander Usyk saying yes, he will definitely look at the possibility of competing in the Super League if he was contacted by Dana White and Turkey about it. And why wouldn't he? You see, Usyk, Klimas and Usyk are not looking at it like how some people have responded to my videos. I'm just going to go by my videos, my content. I'm glad you've got so much faith in Dana White. He's going to ruin boxing. You love Dana White. I said several times that we need more details. I actually said I don't agree with getting rid of all the weight classes or the sanctioning belts. Not so much I don't agree, it's not logical, right? Turkey said we're not going to stop working with the sanctioning bodies or the promoters, so that is in conflict with what Dana is saying. So they've got to work some things out themselves. And I also said, how are you going to make it successful if you're not working with other promoters? But because you so want it to fail, oh, Beach loves Dana White. I don't know Dana White. I don't like MMA, to be honest. You see, Usyk, Klimas and Usyk are businessmen. Tom Loeffler, who's going into partnership with Dana, is a businessman. One of the founder members of K2 Promotions, Triple G Promotions. He knows more about the business of boxing than me and you. Let's just say that. He wouldn't be working with Dana if he thought Dana was going to embarrass him. This is a boxing man. And that doesn't mean it's going to work out with him and Dana or the Super League's going to work out. What they're going by is track record. Tom Loeffler's track record, K2 Triple G Promotions, and the empire Dana built in another combat sport. That's how people get headhunted and hired. Grow up. And here's the thing. Let's take Don King. Don King has a bad reputation amongst many. But many have done business with Don King. And they would tell you, I didn't have no issues with Don King. Strictly business.
Because I'm strictly business.
If you make sure you cover your own tracks, get your own legal people to look over the paperwork, dot the I's, cross the T's, and then make sure that your own demands are respected, heard, looked over, and become a part of the deal, then more than likely, Don isn't even going to try and gank you. Because he says, yo, these guys are on their game. Unfortunately, business doesn't work like how a lot of you think it does. All this who you think Beats like, who you like or don't like, what you think he done to this UFC or MMA fighter, it's all irrelevant to how successful the Super League will be. It's not just Dana White involved in the Super League. It's not just Dana White. And if you conduct your business like thinking you have to like the people that you're doing business with more than you have to come correct, then you're going to fail. And fail horribly, actually. The worst thing you can do is get into business and say, oh, I really like them, we're friends. You know, that's the worst thing you can do. The worst thing. And any businessman with any savvy will tell you, yo, he's 100% right. In fact, sometimes you're better off doing business with people who you're a bit standoffish with, because that way you can separate them stupid feelings of, oh, Beats really likes and I really like and he did this to that person. You can detach yourself from all that and do your due diligence and make your decisions based on research, factual information, probabilities, and outcomes. I remember Nigel Benn being asked, did you have any issues with Don King doing business with him because of Don's reputation? Nigel said, nah. We told him we want this amount for that fight and this fight, and he paid us. Simple. You could say maybe Nigel got lucky, or maybe him and his people were on point. They came correct. The facts are, Dana is in the business, and you can't do fuck all about it. You can't do fuck all about it. You either purchase the subscriptions or the pay-per-views, or piss off and go get your illegal stream. Or don't watch. Because I tell you what, Eddie Hearn said he'll work with Dana, and that means Eddie Hearn's fighters will work with Dana. That means Anthony Joshua could work with him, Shakur, Boots, Hitchens, Bam, any of them could work with Dana. Any of them. Eddie already said offers have been made to some of his fighters to appear on the Super League. And if what I've said so far makes me a Dana White lover, I don't see how. I didn't ask Turkey to appoint Dana White. I wasn't in the selection process. The bigger challenge for you will be to point out in which part of the video suggests that I like Dana White, or I said it's going to be a raving success. Point it out. Anyway, Usyk told us 2 fights left. Daniel Dubois being one of them fights. It's unlikely he's going to be a part of the Super League, but him being a rational human being is not writing off the possibility.
Boxing beats and rhymes. No one can do it better.
Martin BAKOLE in the gym, looking like he's lost weight already. Perhaps the Joseph Parker late notice exercise where he got destroyed in 2 could spark a fire in Martin as he gets ready for May 3rd to take on AJAGBA. Now, I hear the fight will no longer be an eliminator, but is that fair on AJAGBA? Maybe BAKOLE, if he wins, shouldn't be made a mandatory challenger, but maybe AJAGBA should be eligible. So now they've unveiled the undercard, and we have Jaime Munguia, who will be seeking to avenge the upset KO loss to the Frenchman Bruno Sarase, who landed a right hook out of the blue and knocked Jaime out. That's a good fight. We also have Badu Jack defending his WBC Cruiserweight title against Ryan Rozicki. That could be a good fight. Now, the other 2 fights on the card I wasn't too familiar with. Marco Verde versus Michel Polina. Now, Marco Verde, Mexican, 5'11" southpaw, won a silver medal in the 2024 Olympics. He takes on Michel Polina. Verde is Team Canelo. That's what I saw on Twitter. I don't know much more than that. I'm assuming, as for Brian Leon versus Aaron Guerrera, your guess is as good as mine. I'll have to do some research. A lot of people on Twitter have said, well, they don't know who Verde is, they don't know who Polina is, they don't know Leon, they don't know Guerrera. That's leaving them a little perturbed. Normally, on the Riyadh season cards, people want to see familiar names. We'll see if they add to the undercard, and we'll take it from there. Maybe it's setting a bad precedent stacking out the cards, because if potential punters have to recognize all the names without doing any research and write off anyone they don't recognize from being on the card, what does it say about boxing fans that an Olympic silver medalist shouldn't be invited to the Bull? It's a decent card. Not a great card, but it's definitely a decent card.
Boxing beats and rhymes. No one can do it better.
We're going to have a bigger bet. We're going to have £1 million.
You want to do £1 million
Yep.
on Conor Bet?
In escrow.
Listen,
tomorrow morning.
He has
I'm
a lot.
telling you now, £1 million in escrow tomorrow morning.
On what?
On what? On the fight.
You're going to bet £1 million on
In
Conor
escrow
Bet
tomorrow morning.
Eddie. Come on, Eddie. £1 million, eh? Okay. Let's find out if you're a man of your word or just a lying hype job. I formally accept your £1 million bet. And the £1 million will be our own personal money. Not company money or purse money. Just a straight up bet between me and you. The money will go into escrow and the winner takes all. And now I look forward to watching you try and weasel your way out of this bet like the rodent I know you are.
I tell you what, yeah. A lot of people think that Chris showing Eddie up at the press conference is a psychological advantage to Chris. And you could be right. But I think Eddie was having a little banter with Ben Shalom about the £1 million bet. I think it was a bit of banter. But Chris, he seems to want to put Eddie in his place. And a lot of people made a lot of it that Chris wouldn't let Eddie talk at the press conference. Okay, in many people's opinion, Chris has an advantage. I think the real advantage at the moment is Eddie negotiating that rehydration clause for Conor. What you have to understand, right? All the top promoters, Eddie Hearn, Bob Arum, Frank Warren, Don King, not Ben Shalom at this moment. He's not there yet. You can't put him in the circle. But these guys are as good as 2 rounds in the bank, a knockdown 10-8 round in the bank before an actual punch is thrown when they negotiate for their fighters. The matchmaking process, the negotiating process is absolutely crucial. Who was there when Chris signed over that rehydration clause for money? Who was there when he did that? Was Ben Shalom there? The money, I tell you what, yeah, if Chris beats Conor, Conor's pride will be dented, but I don't think it will be the type of beating where Conor can't come back. But if Chris gets beaten, the first thing they're going to do is try and take Conor's victory. Oh, the rehydration clause, that Conor Ben, when Chris signed it, right? Then they're going to be taking all types of quotes from Chris's dad, where he said, my son is a money man. It's dangerous what he's doing at these weights. Although his dad was only talking about him fighting at 160, which he's been doing for the last 6 years. But he's going beyond that now. Rehydration clause? It's crazy. And Chris is a good fighter. You can't fight 2 people at once. You can't fight Eddie and Conor. Pick one. Pick one. The squabble between Ben and Eddie is between Ben and Eddie. It was banter. Neither Chris, Eddie, Ben Shalom, fighters, promoters, they're all licensed to the board. They can't bet in the fight they're involved with. It's simple as that. Jonathan Banks looked really awkward in the press conference to me. Supposed to be his trainer. I don't think he listens to Jonathan Banks like that. We know we don't listen to Ronnie Davis.
Not for the first time, but Junior has stated that he's training himself for this fight. We have heard him say that for previous fights.
Well, he'll always do his own thing. That's what he means by it, because he won't listen to anybody.
Do people know how powerful Conor is going to be in there? How much energy he's going to have compared to Chris? 500 grand for every pound is what it will cost him if he blows the rehydration same-day weighing clause. Depends how much he needs the money. He might be forced into a position where he has to just give up a lot of that purse. Give up a lot of that purse and give Conor the ultimatum. I'll pay the fine. The fight's still on. Before anyone starts that rubbish, oh, you're anti-Chris and this and that. I didn't make the decision. Duke McKenzie, free-weight world champion, he said the same thing. He's saying the same thing I said. When they first tried to make the fight in 2022, I don't know what the splits were, but Conor was B-side, and he didn't complain about it. Next time around, 50-50 or no fight, then Turkey got involved, the fight got over the line. All of a sudden, Conor's willing to take less of the purse, let Chris have his name up first. Conor walks into the ring first. The only demand was the rehydration clause. And it looks like Chris's ego getting Conor to submit A-side privileges, purse, walk into the ring first. EUBANK's name appears first on anything promotional linked to the fight. That's what Ray Leonard did to Hagler. Ray said, yo, you're the champion. Of course you get the bulk of the purse. But Ray got the big ring, which suited him much more. And for whatever reason, Hagler didn't make the fight 15 rounds. Sometimes you can appeal to people's egos and they'll do the rest. If people are going to put stock in psychological advantages, what would you rather win? The press conference or the negotiation room? Because Eddie was talking, Conor's coming up from 147. The rehydration clause is only fair. Conor's last 2 fights were at 150 plus. So they're pulling a fast one, but yo, they're getting away with it.
Boxing beats and rhymes. No one can do it better.
Didn't see this one coming. Chris Mannix expect to see Alicia Baumgardner on the Taylor Serrano 3 card this summer. After that, a showdown between Baumgardner and Serrano in New York, Puerto Rico, Detroit. Makes sense. This is on the back of the news that Alicia's signed to MVP, Jake Paul's promotional outlet. And I guess this is going to make me a Jake Paul fan for what I'm going to say. He's a goofball, but he's very intelligent. Not trying to break into the men's market. Of course, he would have done if Canelo accepted his offer to fight, but Canelo went with Turkey. But unless he was fighting Canelo, he's not trying to get into the conventional boxing world like that because of all the hassle. Dana White hasn't even promoted a card yet, and people are like going crazy that Dana's got the gig. So he's not bothering with that, with all that stress. What's the point? He's went for what you might call a niche market. He's going to promote the next Serrano-Taylor fight. 2 Katie Taylor-Serrano fights on the bounce. And Alicia Baumgardner now enters that little pocket of activity he's got with women's boxing. I like it. And with its own career, that means he's guaranteed a few Netflix dates for the year, and possibly into next year as well. Staying with the theme of women's boxing, State of Michigan Department of Licensing and Regulatory Affairs have informed Claressa Shields the above referenced complaint file opened against respondent Claressa M. Shields has been closed with no disciplinary action taken following receipt of additional evidence that a procedural error occurred during the collection of respondent's oral fluid specimen, which was suggesting that she tested positive for marijuana after her last fight. She always protested her innocence, and the suspension is lifted. And while you think she'd be celebrating that, she jumps into her next controversy almost straight away, saying that it's mostly light-skinned women who hate on her. And like the True Media podcast, he done a hangout on it. I'll have to hear her position on what she's saying. I mean, was it a subliminal at Alicia Baumgardner? I don't know. The last beef I saw her in was with Remy Ma, who's married to Papoose, who Claressa is supposedly having a baby with now. And Remy's a dark-skinned sister, so Claressa, she's going to speak for herself. But from what I'm seeing, she's liable to get in confrontations with light-skinned women, dark-skinned, light-skinned men, white men, black men. Saturday, George Kambosos takes on Yordan. Take that back. Looks like Yordan's pulled out, and someone named Jake Wiley is fighting George Kambosos in the main event. Sky Nicholson takes on Tiara Brown, 18-0, 11 inside the distance, aka the Dark Menace, 36 years of age. Sky, 29 years of age, 12 wins, no losses, 1 inside the distance. WBC featherweight champion, Sydney Olympic Park, Australia. This is a really good fight, apparently. I'm not sure if Tiara Brown's competition has been at the level of what Sky has faced. People on Twitter were saying that Sky looks shook. She does look a little apprehensive. She does. And Tiara looks like she's up for it. She really does. Will this be Sky's toughest fight? I think this is her big test. This one here. I wonder if Eddie's got options on Tiara Brown. It's a must-win fight for Anthony Joshua. He has to win. He's beat Parker already. But this is a must-win because this will be the second fight on the bounce that AJ has fought for world titles. Titles that either Usyk is being stripped of, and they say he may vacate the WBO belt to take on Daniel Dubois. Now, the boxing fans make a big deal that Usyk's being stripped of his belts, and it's not good. Let me start with that. It's not good what the sanctioning bodies are doing. But from an old school boxing fan perspective, the lineal belt is the only title that Usyk has to worry about conceding or losing in the ring. If Anthony Joshua loses 2 fights on the bounce for titles that were either stripped or vacated by Alexander Usyk, it would be a horrible look for his resume. For Joseph Parker, he deserves his title shot, in all fairness. The landscape in boxing is just unpredictable. You don't know what's coming next. And like I keep repeating, because there is no league structure, you're basically making it up as you go along. Nobody was talking about an AJ Parker fight up until maybe a couple of hours back. But now, it could be on the table as a distinct possibility. And Joseph Parker is in the form of his life. And AJ's coming off a horrible knockout defeat. AJ went into the first Parker fight a favourite. I'm not sure if he goes into the rematch a favourite. What was it? A week before February 22nd or whatnot? Parker versus Dubois, a world title fight. We was looking forward to on that Riyadh card. Gone. Parker versus BAKOLE. Oh, really? And that unpredictability that boxing has can make it quite exciting at times. Sometimes the excitement is more from a voyeuristic lens rather than this is an ideal match. Joseph Parker, who according to this poll, 532 votes. Who should Usyk's next opponent be? Dubois getting 28% of the vote, 5 points ahead of AJAGBA, 23%. Joseph Parker got a whopping 49%. How would AJ get the shot though? I mean, he's ranked number 7 by the WBO. Justice Hooney, Moses Atoma, Fabio Wardley, Zhile Zhang, although they probably haven't adjusted the ranking since he lost to AJAGBA. And this is the problem with the amount of belts we have. Because AJAGBA has that dumb interim position, other contenders will get a title shot for that vacant belt ahead of him. Because while he's got that interim belt, he's not ranked by the WBO. He's not ranked by the WBA or the IBF. So he's got to wait until the smoke clears from Usyk Dubois before he can start demanding a shot against Usyk. It's crazy, really, isn't it? Although Parker is the WBO interim champion, how is he allowed to fight Daniel Dubois as a voluntary, if that's the case? Very confusing.
Too many inconsistencies, too many mysteries.
Boxing beats and rhymes. No one can do it better.